Hello, Living on Linux fam. Today I wanted to have a video that goes over a little bit of an unboxing and introduction to running local AI in the Linux ecosystem. So one of the things I've been doing a lot recently is working with some local AI, running it on my GPU, but as you really work with these models, sometimes it's really advantageous to have something a little bit bigger and a little bit more intelligent. So that's why I looked into some of these unified memory boxes that are available now. A lot of people are using Mac Minis, but here being a big fan of Linux, we wanted to stick with a Linux-based system. So we got this guy from GMKTek, which is using one of the new AMD Ryzen 395 AI processors and has 128 gigabytes of unified memory. So I should be able to run some pretty big models here, which I'm really looking forward to. And so today we're going to actually go through a little bit of an unboxing of this and get an overview of this. So nice little package here from GMKTek. You can see some details on the bottom here that goes over where it came from, out of Shenzhen, China. But we're going to go ahead and not focus here on the box and actually get into the product itself. Let's take a look. So you actually see the machine itself is actually quite small. If you look here, we got the device itself from GMKTek. You can see not too big here. We got some USB 4 ports, some regular USB 3, headphone jack, and a little SD card slot. And then we have some input ports in the back. Let's see. We have some warnings here about actually saying that connecting the LAN initially might trigger some long updates, so we'll look into that. But we're going to actually be taking whatever OS is on this. I'm sure it's running Windows out of the box, and we're going to replace it with a Linux distribution. I'm leaning towards Nobara. Always nice to have those built-in drivers. But overall, a nice little machine here. And then we'll take a look. We have some documentation here. In this box, we got our power cable, as well as it looks like HDMI cable here too. And we have our external power brick that we'd be using to power the device itself. So let's take a quick look at some of the documentation that they gave us here. Let's see if there's anything interesting in here. So if we open up this envelope, nothing too detailed, just some product specifications. We'll look through this in a little bit. All right, so what I'm going to do now is cut the video here. We're going to go ahead and actually get this guy set up. And once we get it loaded, I'll walk you guys through a little introduction. Hey everybody, so now I've jumped over into our actual GMKTek NucBox. And so we can see here, after getting the initial Linux setup with Nobara Linux, we now have our AMD Ryzen AI Max 395 processor detected, and we can see our full memory configuration here. I've actually been testing a little bit of LLMs with llama.cpp, so that's why you can see there's actually a lot of memory consumed right now. But first, I'm going to walk you guys through just some of the things that you can do to configure this machine to be very useful for running LLMs. I know people might be buying this machine for other purposes like gaming or other use cases like that, so I won't really cover that. Just some initial things that you might want to consider when you are setting up the machine. In the BIOS, you do want to make sure you have it set to performance mode. And then you also might want to configure the unified memory settings under the graphics configuration. In my case, I just set it to 2 gigabytes, and that's why you see here it says 123 gigs of memory available. 2 gigs were pre-allocated to video memory, but this allows me more flexibility in how I actually allocate my memory for running these models. And actually, you can see some of the settings that I did change from the default installation here with going into my grub configuration. And here you can see specifically I added some additional options here that help with actually allocating memory to the ROCm driver for allocating video memory for serving these models. So I'll put some details for this in the link as I write up a blog post kind of covering some of these steps. so you can copy these, but this really did give me a good balance of performance for my configuration. So with that being the case, now I'll go ahead and actually show you some of the ways to get some models up and running. The absolute easiest would be running Ollama. So for those that aren't familiar, Ollama is really a nice service that's really easy to get up and started with. In fact, you can just actually quickly run this curl pipe bash script here, and that'll install it on your server once you have it installed. And then from there, it actually has some pretty sane defaults, but for this particular machine, you might want to do some customizations. So I actually have my Ollama service here that I made some edit to. In fact, for what I just ran there is it's actually, you can see sudo systemctl edit Ollama will allow you to make some quick edits. And here in this top section, I've actually made some changes, such as Ollama host 0.0.0.0. I do have this behind a firewall, but that allows me to reach my Ollama instance from other machines. I have a long timeout here since I am running larger models. I do want to give this Ollama instance some time to actually pre-fill and respond back. So I do have a long timeout here for requests. I do have it where you can run 2 in parallel. This will largely depend on what kind of model you're running. If you're running a smaller, like 27B model or something like that, that fits well within the 128 gigabyte memory space of this machine, you might be able to run a couple in parallel. If you're running a larger 70 billion parameter model, or a larger over 100 billion parameter mixture of experts model, you might not be able to run multiple in parallel just because you do need a bigger memory configuration. I also specified this KV cache type to have a little bit of quantization here to make it a little smaller, just make it more memory efficient. And then I also used flash attention, and I have that enabled here to make it a little bit easier for quick processing over this large context. Since we do have that large memory footprint here and we're running these bigger models with bigger context, that can really help keep the performance snappy. And then once you do run that, you can easily connect to that just using Ollama. You can customize model files. In fact, I can show you guys some from a model file that I had for Gemma 4 when I was running that. This allows you to specify, like from the default Gemma GGUF configuration, I have some parameters like specifying a larger context than what Ollama defines out of the gate. I also have some temperature settings here that are based upon recommendations from the Gemma team. Then I also have this think block as part of the template so that it knows to always actually have thinking enabled, since that is optional with the Gemma models. But in this case, I actually did decide to move over to running llama.cpp. And I actually pulled that down into this llama B9870 directory here. And I have the actual files here, but I actually built a systemd service for it. So if you actually do just pull down llama.cpp, that installation, you can do, let's see here. I have my llama server service here that's enabled. So you can see here, this is the path where I actually wrote that systemd service. And here I actually have just a standard service defined. You can copy my settings here if you'd like. I actually am using Vulkan as well as part of my setup here. And here is where I actually specify the model. So you can see right now I'm actually running Qwen 3.5, the 122 billion parameter mixture of experts model. Then you can specify some other parameters here, like this mmproj actually enables its vision capabilities. So it can actually natively understand images that you send it as well. Since this is a bigger model, I am running this just with 1 in parallel, so not multiple at the same time. I have flash attention enabled. So you see it's a lot of the same options that you have with Ollama. It's a little bit more of a manual configuration. But once you have that up and running, you can enable this. You can see that it's hosted and listening. Again, I have this behind a firewall, so it's open and listening for things on my local network that can reach it on port 8080. And once you do that, you have that enabled. You can go ahead and connect to it from some other service. So today I'm going to actually be using Alpaca. Alpaca is a nice front end for being able to run LLMs and connect to them. It's very compatible with the Gnome ecosystem, and it's very convergent in its design. So it works well on mobile as well as on desktops and tablets and things like that. So I actually pulled that in from FlatHub and have it installed here. And if I go to my manage instances, I'm going to actually add the instance I had set up here. So if I was just using Ollama, I could say Ollama external and accept that and go through connecting to whatever instance I configured. But in this case, I'm going to actually go ahead and do llama.cpp, which is what I'm running now. So you can name your instance whatever you'd like. And then you put in your URL here. So it's going to be on HTTP by default. You put in the IP address of the machine that you're running it on and the port that you're connecting to. And then for API key, you just want to have some kind of placeholder here. I'm just going to put some sample text. I usually like to disable override parameters here and just go with what I have set on the actual service. And then for max tokens, since this does have a large context that's defined, I actually do want to max this out. So I usually go straight to 17,000 and hit plus here just to make sure it's at the top setting, which is 16,384. And I click on save, and I have my instance. I'm going to go ahead and click on that and go back. And right now it says I have no models selected because I just connected to this instance. But if I click on no models, you see I have my Qwen 3.5. It's a little bit of a long path here, but this is the path on that actual server that I'm running. I'll go ahead and click on add here. And then once I do that, it's going to load here for a minute, and then we can go back. And we have my model here that I can start chatting with. So I'm going to actually go ahead and click one of their samples, go ahead with which is the best Linux distro and see what they come up with. So we'll send this off to my model. And if we go back to my machine here, I can actually go ahead and see that it's processing my request. I can see it's processing it at, looks like around 22 tokens per second. So it's just churning through it. So it's going ahead and it's working. It's responding to my query. We can see it circling here. Now this is a big model. Again, this is a 122 billion parameter mixture of experts with 10 billion parameters activated for the individual experts at a given time. So, we're running about 30 billion parameters total as it's churning through here to produce the 22 tokens per second. It evaluated my prompt much faster than that, so we can see, but we'll see out, and we see some output coming here. I would agree with this right off the bat. There's no single best Linux distribution. It kind of depends on the situation. So we have some options that it's giving us the response to. But yeah, we're getting a pretty good response here. So then definitely fast enough to be usable. So I think this is a great option for being able to have some local AI available for yourself. Again, running llama.cpp. There's other options like VLLM. There's Ollama that we talked about. This allows you to get nice private self-hosted AI that you own end-to-end on your hardware so that you can use it as much as you want without having to worry about having the prices for the tokens actually go up over time or become something that you can't depend on. It's also great for private questions, private coding. And now that these models have gotten a little bit more intelligent, it's great to be able to connect them into some of the other harnesses that are available too. In the future, I do plan on running this with Hermes as well. But yeah, I recommend you guys go out and actually browse around on Hugging Face, see some of the models. This is the model I'm running here in this example, but there's a lot of great options out there for you to use. And it's very nice that you can just get that nicely integrated with your Linux desktop these days. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. I'll keep you posted on some various things that I do with AI and some Linux and Gnome development that I plan to do in the future. But I hope this was helpful. And until next time, happy computing. See you.